I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is May 20th, and this is the Coeur d'Alene City Council meeting. Welcome, everyone, and call to order. Joe, could you do roll call, please?
Gabriel.
Here.
Gukin.
Yes.
English.
Here.
Wood.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
All right, is James Callard here from Pathway? Come on up, James, and if you'll rise for the invocation.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we want to thank you tonight. We're thankful that you are gracious and just and righteous and holy. We're thankful that you are completely in control of all things and that you work for us. You work for your glory and for our good. So we ask for your guidance and direction over this city council meeting this evening. Father, we do thank you for this city and for the opportunity that we have to live, to serve, to invest, and to create community here in Coeur d'Alene. I pray that you would bless this city and those who govern it. I pray for these council members who are responsible for enacting policies for our city, and I pray for Mayor McEvers. Give them wisdom. I do pray that you would help them to pursue goodness and righteousness. You tell us in Proverbs 29 and verse 2 that when the godly are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked are in power, they groan. So, Father, we ask that you would help these council members to lead us well as they represent and administrate the city of Coeur d'Alene. And, Father, we pray that you would receive glory through these proceedings tonight. You deserve the glory because you created us, you enable us, and you work on our behalf. You are sovereign over all things. You remind us in Psalm 115 and verse 3 that our God is in the heavens and he does as he wishes. So we ask that you would lead and govern this meeting tonight. Father, we ask these things of you because you are the creator, the sustainer. And we ask these things of you because you are the one who is able to answer. In the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, James. Mr. Gukin, would you follow us in the pledge?
I would love to. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dan. Any amendments to the agenda, Council? Mr. Gukin.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to add an action item under other business. This would be item number I-1. Well, actually, there's two I-1s. So this would probably be I-2B. And what it is it's a request by the police department to fund and construct a training facility. And so this would be an amendment under Idaho Code 74-2044, subsection C. And I have to explain why this amendment and in the good faith reason why it was not included in the original agenda posting. I do not know why it was originally included. I thought it was going to be. I had discussions with staff. I was out of the country for the last meeting, and it just was not on the agenda, so I met with the street superintendent. I met with the chief of police and found out what the situation was, and I believe the urgency for this is that we have a facility that's being used by the police right now that they can no longer have access to on June 1st, but they do not currently have a training facility, and this would give them a training facility. It seems like it's ready, so I would like to move to add that item to the agenda as stated.
Second.
Discussion? Kenny?
Well, I'm all in on talking about it. I thought it was part of a plan that was coming forward this evening.
Yeah, exactly, Mr. Mayor. And that was my understanding, too, that it was going to be part of that plan, which is why I'm adding it, because I don't know why it was not put on there. Like I say, I met with the staff, and they say they're ready to go. So let's go ahead and go.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
may we hear an update from our city
So I was
administrator?
thinking. Troy, you want to take that one?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and council members. I was the one that said that this plan wasn't ready to come to council for the police training facility. Let me give you the reasons why I shared this with the police chief when the staff report came through. First of all, we have a general obligation bond tonight. We hope everyone gets out to vote and takes advantage of that right to be able to vote. In so doing, should the bond not pass, the city will be looking on how to buy big red trucks, and so we need to have cash. The other position on this is the fact that we need the salt storage area, which is going to be designated in the plan as the new training location for our police department. And yes, they are 100% in support of that. However, we cannot give up the salt storage area at this time until we have a new salt storage area that would have the new equipment that you approved at the last council meeting. In so doing, it would save us man hours as we don't have to move the salt across the yard over to where the brine tanks are now. And thus, we really have time in which to have the police training facility looked at in the most thorough way. Secondarily, we're doing some engineering work to see if that can be added onto the current salt storage building to see if it can be put into a training facility. There are some basically engineering what-ifs, and the quote we have, the police department has, is to tear it down. In the world of trying to save the building, we would like to use that building if it has to come down, and right now is not a good time for our streets department to try to take that down and reuse it sometime in the future. So this project, as being described for the amendment to the agenda, would come back to you with some more details, and it's not in the financial plan at this point, and it's north of $100,000. So that's the reasons that we didn't bring it forward at this time, so we could get your input on the plan to see if we could take the necessary steps to bring it forward with all the details that you would desire.
Amy?
Troy, when do you expect that to come before us?
Well, based on those dominoes we spoke about, the good news would be a vote that comes in favorably tonight so that we can take care of a lot of fire equipment and apparatus. The other piece would be the engineering study, which we just took that out to the engineer to do some work on that. That comes back to see if the building could be added onto. So I would say, basically I hope council agrees with the program. We have a couple more details to work through to give you an exact budget. And if the building needs to be moved, we'd like to do it ourselves to save money. So when would it be ready? If the engineering came back favorably, we could be moving on this in probably 2 weeks, 4 weeks. But we really can't give up, in my opinion, that salt storage till we have a new building, which is on your agenda tonight. So then I have the challenge of knowing when it's done so we can have salt to make brine for the upcoming winter season.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. And so, thank you, Troy. These were the issues that I had discussed with the street superintendent and the police chief as well. Salt storage to me seems to be a separate issue. It seems to be that's under control. Taking down the building, again, when I met with the police chief, it seems like that's being handled, and hopefully we'll hear that in a staff report. You mentioned the bond failing, which I hope it does not. And contingencies. Does the city currently have a plan in case the bond fails?
We would go back to our voters and ask what we could do better in educating them for the next election.
I'm sorry, I asked if we had a plan. Do we have a plan?
That's the plan.
The plan's just to go back. So the plan doesn't include taking money from the police department savings for their staffing, which is what you mentioned. So basically, if there isn't a plan specifically designating that money, then my thing is we should not be holding our breath. The city needs to move forward. We need a training facility. I really think it would be fair to have council hear the police report and then judge for themselves based on the information you provided, which is why I would recommend adding this item to the agenda. Thank you.
Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, would like to dig down into those details, but we can't do that until it's added to the agenda. If we could be assured, as we move forward, that this will come back in 2 weeks, I think we could all be fine with that. But I don't feel that level of assurance until we have the discussion.
Mr. English?
Sure. Boy, it seems like we're getting feedback, but well, I am definitely supportive of this. This is something we need. On the other hand, to me, it's a matter of not if, but the timing and the when. And sometimes by being able to take a little extra time, you can actually design something. And if we know, yeah, that's what we're doing, then we can really, put the heads together. So, again, I don't want it to be seen as a wavering of commitment to do this, because what I heard was, we're going to have the master plan and the police are going to have that, and they've needed this for some time. But again, just the timing of it. So, I'm good with having it, putting it on there to talk about a bit. But again, if we take a little extra time, I'm for that, as long as we do it. Holy cow.
Kiki.
Mr. Mayor, I think that it was a good plan to bring it up, to add it onto the agenda, but I think it might be a little bit premature in that we won't have the answers to some of the questions that the administrator just shared with us yet. So I think waiting for another 2 weeks to assure it's on the agenda then, when we have all those answers, is the direction I'd like to go.
Anybody else? Randy, do we need to vote on that?
Yes, there's a motion and a second to add an agenda based on what Councilmember Gookin has voiced in terms of the emergency and the need to put it on.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Well,
Amy?
Well, I'll just add that I'm happy to discuss this, but I'm uncomfortable taking action until we have all the information from our city team here, who's assuring us that we'll have it in short order, so.
And I would like to add also that Police Chief White, you are ready with a staff report and information for council. So if you want that information, it will be available tonight.
Okay, anything else? Kenny?
yes.
No, I mean, if he has the information ready, we need to hear it eventually, so.
All right. So,
Just that, yeah, I would, if there's a report ready, I mean, we're not going to decide everything yay or nay, but if there's something ready tonight to go, I would like to hear it, and it's just one more thing that I can soak on. But anyway.
so
we'll
let's
go to a
get this
vote.
motion out there.
You may have to break.
All in favor of
We could do a roll
Dan's
call, Mr.
motion?
Mayor, please.
Roll call, please.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Evans.
Yes.
All right, passes. So where we go now?
Well, I think the motion included where it would be placed on the agenda, so when we get to that,
Okay. Yeah,
should be
B.
called.
B2?
It was in section I, which is under other business. There's resolution 25025, and then after that is the North Ramsey campus plan presentation.
Okay.
It should take place after that.
Okay. So it's going to move to North Ramsey plan presentation as B.
And that should be number 2. It's listed as number 1, but it should be
Gotcha.
number 2.
All right, we're going to move that there, Joe. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Proclamation. Kenny, can you read that for us?
I'd be happy to, Mr. Mayor. Whereas on average 700 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the United States, and nearly 70% of these fatalities are caused by drowning. And whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn life jackets. And whereas modern life jackets are more comfortable, more attractive, and more wearable than styles of years past and deserve a fresh look by today's boating public. Now, therefore, on behalf of Woody McEvers, Mayor of the City of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, I do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th through the 23rd, I said 19 last time too, 2025 as National Safe Boating Week, in support of the goals of the North American Safe Boating Campaign and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating.
All right, thank you so much. Amy, we're going to do a proclamation for Pride Month in
Mr. Mayor,
June
first,
2025.
Yeah, would like to point out that you did pass this off to our safe voting lady who's normally here.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
that's what she wanted, the picture.
And
It's
they got-
older than you are.
Got the picture. Is that an old picture?
It's an old picture.
Oh, okay. Well, it's nice.
Well,
I thought I'd point
she
that out.
made me do that. Thank you. All right, Amy.
Whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning, intersex, asexual people and their allies have always lived in Idaho, from early indigenous inhabitants to today's residents, and whereas LGBTQIA+ Idahoans are our family, our friends, our neighbors, and our coworkers, and the contributions of all of our citizens are essential to the city's growth, vitality, and prosperity. And whereas the City of Coeur d'Alene enacted legislation in 2014 to prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity or expression, resulting in all people enjoying the full benefits of citizenship under the law and being afforded equal opportunities for employment, housing, commercial property, and the use of public accommodations and hospitality. And whereas the North Idaho Pride Alliance works towards a safe and inclusive community where LGBTQIA+ people belong, can connect, and are empowered to thrive. And whereas the City of Coeur d'Alene is committed to continuing to build an environment in which all people are treated with dignity and respect, and who are free to enjoy the pursuit of happiness. Now, therefore, I, Amy Evans, on behalf of Woody McEvers, Mayor of the City of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2025 as Pride Month.
And Dr. Sarah Lynch is here, Executive Director of North Idaho Pride Alliance. Thank you, Sarah, and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor McEvers and City Council members. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here and for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm Dr. Sarah Lynch, the Executive Director for the North Idaho Pride Alliance, and on behalf of my phenomenal board of directors and the incredible community that I serve, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to you for once again issuing the Pride Month proclamation for the City of Coeur d'Alene. As you know, NIPA is a 501c3 nonprofit of LGBTQIA+ people and our allies working together to create a more inclusive North Idaho through networking, educating, and advocating. We envision a safe and inclusive community where folks like myself belong, can connect, and are empowered to thrive. According to the Movement Advancement Project, Idaho is home to 48,000 LGBTQ folks ages 13 or older. We make up 3% of your workforce, and 44% of us who are 25 years or older are raising children. To put it bluntly, we are your family, your neighbors, and your coworkers, and have always been inextricably woven into the fabric of our society. Unfortunately, with Idaho's most recent legislative session, we sunk deeper as a state into our negative LGBTQ policy tally, which is measured in terms of discrimination, parental recognition, religious exemptions, youth laws, healthcare, criminal justice, and trans rights. That said, Coeur d'Alene remained one of 12 cities in Idaho who serve as a beacon of hope for folks in my community due to the full protections afforded by an ordinance prohibiting discrimination based on sexual orientation in private employment, housing, and public accommodations. It's upon this city ordinance enacted into law over 10 years ago that Coeur d'Alene's Pride Proclamation is based, and we're exceedingly grateful to our city leadership who continue to recognize the work and the contributions of our LGBTQIA+ community members. NIPA is committed to remaining as a visible presence in North Idaho, continuing to create safe spaces for LGBTQ folks, and standing firm in our mission. So, with that said, we're excited to bring our traditional Coeur d'Alene for Pride programming back this year, kicking the month off with Pride in the Park with over 70 vendors slated to attend, along with some of our own local musical talent for entertainment. We've also partnered with Vitalent to bring a queer and ally blood drive to Coeur d'Alene, which is a significant milestone due to the historical exclusion of LGBT folks from the ability to participate in this life-saving act. So all that said, we invite you to come on out and enjoy the festivities as we look forward to another safe and joyful Pride season. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Next up, we have public comment.
Sarah, real quick, we wanted the photo. Sarah.
With me?
Just, I think, right in front of here.
I'd like to invite some folks, if you'd like to be part of a picture. The city council is offering us an opportunity for a photo.
Oh, with us in the back. Okay. Okay.
Oh, that's why they're all here.
Lake looks beautiful. Oh, who's Laura?
Panorama.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Okay, next up, I have public comments, and I have a list up here. If you haven't gotten on, you can whip up another one down there. First up is Jim Coeur. Jim, welcome.
Don't worry, these are parts of two of your trees.
Uh-oh.
We'll explain.
It's a tree?
Being an ex-teacher, I'm really into show and tell. I'm happy to be here. It's good to see you again. I trust that's mutual. Anyway, I have some neighbors on North 7th that have captured my heart, and you'll figure out why if you'll bring them up. This is, these are the McNeil children. McLean, excuse me, children. You can tell I'm new to this town. And they have a story to tell. And this is Zach McLean, and I'm going to let him introduce my newly adopted children.
Welcome, Zach.
All right, thank you. Like you said, I'm Zach McLean. These are three of my four daughters, Millie, Juniper, and Goldie. Poppy has a soccer game right now. So, yeah, I will just dive into it. I have 3 minutes, is that correct? Okay. Well, Jim brought some couple of branches that tie in with some of my concerns. So, hi, my name is Zach McLean, and I live right across the street from the towering, dangerous cottonwood trees on North 7th Street that pose a dangerous threat to the kids and families that walk 7th Street every single day. You can do a quick search online to find the inherent danger of these cottonwood trees, with many cities across the U.S. banning these trees from being planted in residential neighborhoods. Cottonwood trees are known for their rapid growth, brittle wood, and hollow nature of wood filling with water. Each time there's a storm or a blustery day, branches come flying down, some blocking the whole street. Just this week, 3 branches fell, 2 measuring 15 feet and the other measuring 18. An example of just how dangerous these falling branches are happened to my family last year. My oldest daughter Millie, was outside last summer playing as she often does. A few of us were inside the house and we heard a loud cracking sound with branches breaking. I knew immediately what it was, since it had happened many times. I came running outside. My neighbors came running outside as well after hearing it from inside the houses. And what we see outside was a 500-pound branch that was laying just 10 feet from where my daughter was playing outside. She was frozen in fear. Now, just so you know, we have Venture High School to the north of these trees, and we have Bryan Elementary to the south. It is a thoroughfare for kids that walk it every single day. Many are walking and biking to school. Some walk it with their class as a PE outing, taking that exact route under the trees several times a day. We have seen people falling due to the huge damage caused by the roots from the trees to the sidewalks. There has been 3 different times in the recent years where branches that fell were so huge it blocked the entire street, and either the fire department had to be called or neighbors with chainsaws had to cut the branches up to carry them away. We're talking about massive branches that could easily damage homes, cars, or more seriously, people. As time goes on, these trees grow extremely huge and become more and more dangerous. My hope is instead of like the past 10 years where there has been nothing done, and the back and forth of deferring responsibility of who's going to take care of these trees. We have talked in years past with the owner of the home, who is now deceased. We have talked to different departments of the city, and all have ignored the request to take this matter seriously. The house is now gone. It was burned in a fire. The lot is vacant, and nothing is standing in the way of the city to take these trees down before something worse happens. There's no one else to defer responsibility to. It is the city. These trees can be easily dropped into the empty lot with nothing standing in the way. My hope is that the city takes action to these trees today.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Zach. We'll get busy on that, okay? Jim, thanks for bringing them.
You're welcome.
Next up, Ally Kosk. Ally, welcome.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Thank you for all that you do for our community and to our first responders.
Would you mind to turn that mic just more straight? Might get a better.
Is that better?
Well, I don't.
Is that better?
There.
Wears hearing aids.
Thank you.
Damn.
I will try to enunciate. I'm just not used to being at the podium. But I wanted to just take a moment to recognize that some of our neighboring cities and communities aren't as fortunate to have a city council that would be willing to make a proclamation year after year in support of a community that I represent and that my family represents. And so I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for going through with the proclamation of Pride Month. I've been a resident of Coeur d'Alene for 20 years. I'm originally from Washington. I own a business. I own 2 businesses for 10 years, 15 years. I have kids. And just like every member of the community, I shop here, I dine here, I invest here. I blow my nose, I pay my taxes, I volunteer. And some days it just feels like I don't feel welcome here anymore, and that my family needs to constantly be looking over our shoulders to feel welcome in this community. And so what we've been hoping for is just a continued public stance of inclusivity for all members of our community that are here to do good and to put effort into this place that we all love. So without taking up too much of council's time, I just wanted to say thank you for having that on the agenda again this year and supporting our community and our goal just to make this place a little bit better.
Thank you, Ally. Next up, Laura DeMott. Laura, welcome.
Good evening. As a member of the community, I also just simply wanted to thank Mr. Mayor and the council members for once again proclaiming June as Pride Month for the city of Coeur d'Alene. I work in hospitality management here in the area, daily hosting and welcoming visitors to our area from all backgrounds, and I appreciate that you're continuing to hold space for those visitors as well as for all of us who reside here, pay taxes here, raise families here, and contribute to the community. So thank you for your commitment to our city and to all of us who call it home.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Next up, Zach McLean.
I think we heard from Zach.
Is that the tree boy, Zach? No? All right, moving on. Karen Mello. Karen, welcome.
Thanks. Mayor and council people. I'm here for the same reason, not to bitch or complain or anything, but to thank you. To thank you for having the courage to do Pride Month, especially after the fiasco we had a couple years ago. And I'm straight, but there's lots of people I love that are different. And so I just think you're brave, and I'm proud of you for doing this. And I want to thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you, Karen. Ted Turpentine. Ted, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. Forgive me, I'm pretty nervous. This is the first time I've spoken in public. I guess I'll be a dissenting voice for not saying thank you to the council for the Pride Month proclamation. I and my family just feel that it's it's wrong and unnecessary for the council to set aside an entire month to sort of honor and celebrate a segment of the population that is a small minority of the population. I say this not because I'm a bigot or anything like that, but I just, on moral grounds, and I believe I speak for a lot of the community when I say that setting aside an entire month for this is unnecessary. And the other thing was, I voted yes for the bond measure today, but I did so kind of reluctantly. It's a lot of money that you've asked myself and the community to give for all the equipment and everything. Of course, I and the entire community supports our firefighters and all our first responders, but I just feel like we were asked to give them the best of equipment and everything like that, while at the same time they're receiving the best possible compensation. Not only them, but other city employees, including police. So some of the things that I feel are extravagant currently for the fire department's compensation packages: paid time off to perform union functions, paid time off during city and fire department grievance procedures. They're rewarded for not using their sick leave days in the form of accrual of payment for the unused days. 100% continuance of medical premium insurance coverage for 2 years after a fireman or becomes disabled. I feel that's extravagant. Pay for any holidays proclaimed by the mayor in addition to those already listed on the bargaining agreement. Paid military reserve training leave in addition to their regular pay, I assume. A lot of this, the bargaining agreements are kind of hard to read. I think you have to be an attorney to make them out. But anyway, college tuition reimbursement, paramedic school reimbursement. They're paid a 5% increase on their pay for just to pass a fitness test, which I believe should be a normal part of just being a firefighter. Anyway, when you next consider the collective bargaining agreements, I hope you'll keep that in mind for us taxpayers who especially fixed income taxpayers like myself, who have to swallow this increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Max? Is Max out there? Welcome, Max.
Can I present something on this? Does it play video?
Pardon me?
Can I play anything on the screen? Does it present video? Can I play video?
You got 3 minutes?
Yeah, it's only a minute long.
Sure, see what you can do there. You have the technical knowledge there? Yeah.
Right.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
I just said before.
Sorry.
It's all right. I can send you guys the video. Yeah, does that work? Hi, how's it going? My name is Elmedi El-Qasimi. I reside at 503 West Summit Avenue. It's on just on C Street in Summit. So I submitted a building application. I followed every rule that the city gave me. I submitted full plans. I received a building permit. I passed every inspection. Footings, trusses, roof, all of it. I built exactly what was approved. Then suddenly, after construction was nearly complete, the city claimed that my building was too tall. But they never provided any survey, no actual measurements, just an opinion. Since when did legality go based on how something looks? Still, I complied. I submitted as-builts when asked. I provided 17-point checklists that they demanded. Without justification, they demanded a survey for a minor staircase revision, something that no one else is required to do for a residential permit. At the same time, I watched my neighbors violate clear codes, ADA non-compliant sidewalks, blocked vision triangle, no enforcement. So I ask, why me? Disgruntled neighbors who simply don't like the color of my building have been spreading falsehoods. Meanwhile, I've worked directly with the city from the start. If somebody doesn't like the color of my building, that's totally fine. If they don't like the siding, etc., that's totally fine as well. But that doesn't give them or the city council to interfere in my rights for a legally permitted structure. And when Dan Gookin calls my building hideous, it reveals a personal bias. It's not code. To those on city council who may not know the full story, I've done everything that I've been asked. I followed the law, and what I face is not fair and not consistent and not right.
Thanks, Max. Anyone else, public comment, didn't get a chance to sign up? Okay, we're going to move along. Announcements, council.
Here's one.
Here's
one.
Any?
This weekend and part of last week, the Idaho Fire Chiefs had their conference, their annual conference in Sun Valley. And at that conference, I'm very proud to say that Deputy Chief Bill DeRuyter was presented with the President's Award. And that is, the President has the ability to pick anybody in the association to give this to, and he gave it to Bill for the incredible work he does that starts here in the city and that he spreads from throughout the state. So hats off to Bill. He did a wonderful job, and he was so taken he couldn't even speak at the podium, so he did a wonderful job. So hats off to him. And on a personal note, happy birthday to Wendy, my wife. It's her birthday, and happy birthday, babe.
Happy birthday, Wendy.
Mr. English.
Nope, I was just pointing to him.
Oh. Dan?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Would you
Mayor.
point at Dan here?
I'll point at him now.
Pointed at the other end.
All the support here is
We have a couple of letters, and I would like to ask about the letters that we received. First one is from Mr. Malone, and he's asking a question about our city parking lots. And that currently, the only way to pay to park is if you have a cell phone. And you need to download an app, scan a QR code, go to the website. And he mentions in this letter that there is legislation that passed, I guess, in the past session, that all businesses in the state of Idaho must accept cash as payment. So this presents an interesting problem in that you need a cell phone to park in the city. I did talk to the Downtown Association about this today because they do our parking enforcement. And they mentioned your name, Troy, if your ears were ringing. They said that you are working on something. Can you fill us in on what's happening with the issue with cash payments or payments at our parking lots?
If someone wants to pay with cash, Diamond will work with them to get that done. I believe that legislation was for all state agencies and did not trickle down to the local agencies. That was for all state agencies.
Okay.
So if a person has enough lead time to be able to say, I want to pay in cash, Diamond will make it work, or we will take a check that they could send in to accommodate that request.
So is that something we're working on then, or is that
No,
something?
that's done today.
Oh.
That's done today. If someone, again, we don't have people available 24/7, so depending on the hours, we could handle it by calling the 1-800 number to make payment with cash or work through that detail.
Okay. But again, you need a phone for that. We got another letter, and this was from...
Could I add a comment on that one before we
Surrender.
move on? It's just that, because I've been in that exact spot, and when you get there, you're on your way to some event, you don't have a whole lot of time, and I think we just need to still have some drop boxes for cash where they can, stick a $5 or $10 bill or something and their license number and space number or something. We used to, they don't have to have one for everyone, but that whole thing of, calling and stuff when you're I'm hoping whatever that cash option, we can drill down to make it a little more customer friendly. So, or we got to be more forgiving on the other end then. So.
Thank you, Dan. I also got a a letter from Pat Krug, who lives in Sanders Beach, about sidewalks. And in this letter, it's stated that basically there's a lot of areas in the city that don't have sidewalks. And I'm of the opinion, and I agree with the letter where it states that I don't think the city should be around telling people where to put in a sidewalk. And I know this was an issue that came to us a couple of weeks back, a couple of meetings ago, and I'd really like to see a discussion on that at the council level regarding sidewalks. Should we be telling people to put in sidewalks? Should we have rules that say you need to put in a sidewalk if you do A, B, and C? I know there's a resident in my neighborhood who would like to do an addition to his house, and he has no sidewalks now, and the city's saying, well, you got to put in sidewalks. And I just don't think it's something that the city should be doing. I think it's an abuse of government power to do that. You buy a house, you should be able to be comfortable in that house knowing that the city's not going to come along and say, well, you got to put in a sidewalk now. I understand the reasons, but I do think it's a discussion council should have, especially in light of the stuff that's coming to us. And if, Mr. Mayor, if you could look to putting that on a future agenda for us to have a discussion item, especially before that one thing comes back to us, if it does. The other thing, I got a lot of stuff here, trees. So we heard some stuff from Mr. Coeur and Mr. McLean about those trees up on 7th. I did talk to our arborist who's here tonight about the trees. Nick, with your permission, Mr. Mayor, could Nick come forward and address some of the things that the city has been doing regarding these trees?
You betcha.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming out, Nick.
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's an honor to be here tonight, as always. I don't have a prepared statement, so I can just speak to what the city has, the backstory behind these trees and what I've done and what the people before me have done on these trees. Black cottonwoods, I read a story in the paper about these trees the other day. They're not a desirable street tree species. The city does not plant them as street trees. As far as I know, they've never been on our approved street tree list. Any existing black cottonwood trees in the public right-of-way locations exist because they were either planted before we had ordinances, they're volunteers, meaning they grew on their own, or they were planted by someone other without city approval. Now, they are more prone to breakouts. I'm not going to argue with what the gentleman said about the trees themselves. They have issues. They're not a desirable street tree species. Whenever they come to our committee, I can't say I've ever seen us require one to be retained. As the council knows, maybe some people in the public don't know, I think it's a continued issue, a question that I have to answer often. The city does not have a street tree maintenance crew. City ordinance puts maintenance of street trees on the controller of the public right-of-way, meaning the abutting property owner to that right-of-way. So if the city is going to deem a tree a high risk, people like to use the word hazard, then the homeowner is going to be responsible for paying for that removal, or the property owner, the abutting property owner. So if the city were to take the stance that all cottonwood trees that exist in the city of Coeur d'Alene are a high risk or a hazard, we would then put that burden of their removal on the property owner. The city has not been wanting to do that. I would make the argument that although they have issues, a black cottonwood does not meet a high risk or hazardous tree by the International Society of Arboriculture standards, which is the organization that gives me my credentials and makes me a qualified tree risk assessor. So we try to follow those standards. This particular property has, these trees have already been approved for removal. They are approved for removal by the City of Coeur d'Alene Urban Forestry Committee in 2019. At that time, they were brought to my committee because they wanted to replace the sidewalks. And we looked at them as, can these sidewalks be replaced without removing the trees? The answer was no. So the trees were approved for that site work, not because the trees represented a high risk. Since then, that work never came to fruition by the property owner. I don't have the authority to tell someone to remove their sidewalks, as Mr. Gookin mentioned a few minutes ago. And then, as those fine people mentioned earlier, the property owner passed away, it's changed hands. All that to say, I've already been working with the current property owner to remove these trees for this site work that's upcoming. I've been trying to assist them in getting estimates to get them out. They're quite expensive, but that is his responsibility for the upcoming site work. And it's going to come to fruition, probably not as fast as people would like, or at least some people would like to see, but we are working towards it. So, it's kind of a long explanation, but the trees are approved for removal in order to complete the infrastructure improvements at that site, not because they are high risk, even though they have lost some branches, which does happen with large trees from time to time. It does not always mean that the trees are a high risk and need to be removed or that action is necessary. Try to make that assessment fairly. And although we will continue to most likely approve cottonwood tree removals that come in, city, at least I am not going to start the process or do not plan to start the process of deeming black cottonwood trees as a high-risk tree and therefore requiring property owners to remove them.
Okay.
May I follow up, Mr. Mayor? Just
Sure.
Nick, you talked about trees that are in the public right of way, but they're in control of the property owner. Do they have to get your permission to trim them and keep them shaped nice?
The city has a street tree company licensing program. So companies throughout town, we have some standards that they have to meet. Once they meet those, they can perform routine maintenance on street trees, those companies, without pulling a permit from our office. Furthermore, none of our permits cost any money. They're all for tracking purposes only to make sure the work is done correctly. Furthermore, there's a misconception that says street trees can only be worked on by one of these companies. If you're paying someone, it has to be a licensed tree service. And the reason for that is if you don't follow our arboriculture standards, you can do serious damage and create a hazard. But the property owner can get a permit for no cost to prune a tree themselves if they'd like to do that, and then get instruction from me on how to do so, and then I inspect the work. So the code does allow that. You just can't hire someone, pay them, and then not have them qualified by our city's code standards.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks, Nick.
And so the bottom line is the city's done something about this.
Yeah, I mean, the trees, by my estimation, it's hard with black cottonwoods. They're really fast growing, but those are probably at least 50-year-old trees, give or take a decade. And in the last 5 years, more proactive work has been done to mitigate those trees than I've seen before the last 40. Okay. So we are working towards it. The property owner now seems to be proactive and wanting to get something done, but I just want to reiterate, the goal of this is to have a safe sidewalk for pedestrians to use at that location. It's not geared by the trees being a high risk. I take those concerns seriously, but we do have to apply that code precisely and with the intent that it implies.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much.
That's it?
You want me to go on?
No.
I need you to get it off your chest. Council comments. Amy, anything? Kiki, anything? So quiet, Dan. Thanks for coming.
They're like,
All
let's get on
right.
with it.
Well, I have nothing either. I'll look for a motion for consent calendar,
Mr.
please.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent calendar as presented, including resolution number 25-024.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please. Joe?
Gabriel,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Evans.
Yes.
Mike Becker, all the way from down by the river. Welcome, Mike. We have Resolution 25025, approval of amendment number 1, which means there'll be more, to the wastewater outfall improvements evaluation contract with HDR Engineering, Inc.
You just gave my staff report.
Come on, you gotta have pictures.
Good evening,
and
Mr. Mayor and council members, and happy birthday, Wendy. Yes, this evening, I would like to present wastewater's request for amendment number 1 to an existing professional services contract with HCR. This is on our outfall project. As you're aware, the wastewater treatment plant collects and treats and discharges 4 million gallons of wastewater each day. We do this through a outfall line in the Spokane River that was installed in 1985. This is the only means of discharging this water, treated wastewater out of the treatment plant. We've gone through an evaluation of this outfall on its existing condition, and we're trying to determine what kind of project we need to do to ensure the longevity of it and its continued operation. Presently, we do not have any capacity issues out there. That said, however, we went ahead and hired HDR to inspect the outfall, to create and develop a preliminary engineering report, and to identify what kind of project would be needed. Based on these findings, initial findings, we have determined that a more detailed internal assessment of the outfall would be required. And to support this, as you may recall, last March, we hired a diving firm to go out there and do some underwater photography work. Now, where are we at? Well, after further discussions with the diving firm, HDR, and we have consulted with other municipalities that have gone through outfall projects, we now believe that this project does not need to be an upgrade or a replacement project and can actually be what we call a maintenance or rehabilitation project. We believe our outfall is in decent condition. Therefore, instead of completing a preliminary engineering report, which is used to design a project around, we would like to have, did I do that?
Yes.
We would like to
Yes,
have a
you did that.
conditional assessment done on the project. What is a conditional assessment report? It identifies what kind of maintenance projects we should be doing out there. So therefore, we would like to we did ask HDR for increased scope of work to complete this report. Now, HDR went ahead and completed it. It's included in my staff report. This amendment comes to a cost of $101,507. This brings our total professional services contract to $198,687. We know that this is going to extend into next fiscal year. We planned for that, and we budgeted accordingly. We do have the budget authority for this project. I have laid out an outline of 8 items that were added to the scope of work. In compliance with Idaho Code 672320, as well as our city's procurement policies, we are able to present this amendment before council this evening to negotiate an addendum to this existing contract. Again, the scope, schedule, and compensations report from HDR has been included in my staff report. Therefore, in conclusion, it is staff's recommendation that council approve amendment number 1 with HDR for professional services associated with the outfall project in the amount of $101,507. And with that, I will entertain any questions.
Council questions? Kenny?
So you're doing like you always do and trying to stay a step ahead of everything, right? That's pretty much what
Yes.
this is?
Part of the reasons, just to help clarify why we have amendments to the contract, when we have these large-scale projects, it's hard for any consultant to say it's going to cost X amount of dollars without knowing the full detail and what scope is going to be required on this project. So that would be like, asking somebody to say, hey, if I dig a hole over here, am I going to encounter any rock, any old abandoned cars or anything? We don't know, and so we create these amendments, which is in compliance with Idaho Code and our procurement policies, to allow initial scopes of the project, and then as we discover what kind of project we need, there'll be an amendment, and then after we get a contractor, there'll be another amendment. And that way, we're able to control the expense on these projects a little bit tighter than we have in years past.
Any other questions? All right, look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 25-025, approving amendment number 1 to the wastewater outfall improvements evaluation contract with HDR Engineering, Inc. for professional services associated with wastewater outfall evaluation project in an amount not to exceed $101,507,000.
Second.
Been moved and second. Questions? Comments? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Gookin,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Evans,
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, all the way from the Ramsey campus, Todd Fishner, our Streets and Engineering Director, with Resolution 25026, approving budget authority and the contract with Steel Structures America in the amount of $125,000 for the construction of a new pole building at 3800 Ramsey Road campus for salt storage and brine. Take it away, Todd.
It's a mouthful. Thank you, Mayor McEvers and council members. I'm excited to talk to you about our campus plan. Mike, could you share the screen? I'm going to need these pictures. There we go. Very cool. Okay, so an aerial shot. This is probably back in around 2008. I can tell by kind of where our Bryan Center is, but if you notice, we had quite a bit of room back then, and so we weren't as panicked about space, but we were talking about a campus plan at that time, and it never happened. As we have moved forward, here's another angle. This is obviously before we had the fire pole barn that's out there. That currently is over in this area, so you can see the footprint that Streets and Engineering had. We were able to store stuff spread out a little bit, but we were already having some issues over here with fire. As we move forward, sorry, went the wrong way. Pick the right slide. We started talking about what could we do. Once I became director, it's been a topic in the last 5 years. This was our campus before we had our fire. Police had a building here. This is our current salt storage building down here right now. We don't have a lot of space in the city of Coeur d'Alene now to do storage of material, leaf pickup, things of that nature. So when we do leaf pickup, all the leaves come into this area right here. We utilize 50% of it year-round. Come November, that whole area fills up very quickly with leaves. This is the building I brought to you at the last council meeting that we sold to the fairgrounds. It housed the police department in their time of need when their building burned down. Now they have moved out. We sold it. I had talked to you guys at that time that we'd utilize the funds from the sale of that building to build a covering for our trucks. So when we started talking about this plan again, I talked to Chief White about when they were going to be moving out, and we started to build a plan. At that time, PD had suggested they needed a training facility. The location of the modular building wasn't ideal because it's in the middle of the campus, so the modular building wasn't a good option. They said they needed about 1,600 square feet. Well, that salt storage building right there is 1,600 square feet, so that got my wheels turning. What could I do to help police? And we started talking about moving a salt storage building over here. And if we could vacate this structure and move to there, that would create a space for PD to do their training. A frustration of Chief White and myself is this gets used as a through almost a highway. We have a lot going on Google actually shows this as a route to get to the police station. That is their secured part of the police station, police campus. We probably get a dozen cars a week that try and cut through and actually go to PD from the backside. We also have a lot of staff that cuts through. When we're doing projects, this is problematic. So I took the opportunity to think, well, if we put a fence here, we put a swale in the ground, people aren't going to drive through. And we're going to make a defined area for the police to have a secured lot. So our plan is, with this campus plan, is that this will no longer be a through access. Chain link fence probably would have barbed wire, razor wire, whatever they need to make it secure. The new gate will be over here, so they would access off Kathleen. No one's driving through the other area. This is a huge win. In my opinion. I hate to send that email out that says slow people down and all that. We have changed this since I submitted this to the packet. PD Chief White and Captain Hagar have said that in this area they also need to have an impound yard. Currently they have a small impound yard here that really isn't adequate. So what we're going to do is basically from this corner here, we're going to go straight across, which we will be able to create a space for up to 12 vehicles to be in a secured spot as they take them in for evidence. We haven't really designed that all the way. There's a couple options. I'm working with the chief on that, but we feel if we put the fence here, that would create room. That's going to give them about from the front of this building 70 feet. So that gives them room to do training, drive their cars in. I will let the chief go over what he thinks, they need to do to the building, but this is the location that we're suggesting their training facility goes. It keeps them all tight to their campus. It kind of gives separation between the two. We actually, from some training a couple years ago, had a situation where one of the windows in one of our machines was broken from a training exercise, so this would keep it to where we're kind of separate and a little safer. We are looking at the same time with things we could do for fire. This is problematic. We have currently a swale right in this area. They are running out of rooms for their training props. We have, I'll go on another slide, I'll show you the problem with moving to the north, but so we're trying to grab up some spots that they could build more training. This area here is kind of, we just can't really give up too much, but I'm trying to find spots that they could build more training, so we're trying to free up some room for fire. That will come as we go. We haven't really got the north side all the way ironed out. I'm working with Chief Greif and his team to try and come up with some ideas. This was the original truck port that we had suggested. That has come in significantly more than we were anticipating. Tonight I'm asking for approval to go under contract with Steel Structures of America for $113,000. They can build us a 50 by 100 foot building there, 5,000 square feet. We calculate it can hold up to 17 loads of salt. The current structure holds 3. That worked for us back in the early, mid-2000s. We average 17 loads of salt right now. Now that we only hold 3, a lot of the storms we get, we're ordering a load to come from Utah, and a lot of times it doesn't show up before we run out. We keep 30,000 gallons of salt brine in the tanks at any given time, but if we have a storm that lasts for 3 or 4 days with all the other agencies, we will run out, and then we have to go to sand or just salt products on the road. Another benefit to us moving from here to there with the salt, this is a long ways to pack the salt to go into our machine. It gets contaminated with rock and other products, and so it'll plug up. So with this setup, we would be able to scoop up the salt, drive inside the building, and load the hopper to build the salt brine, so it'd be a lot more efficient. This is kind of what it would look like. These are older photos here. it kind of is a little deceiving, but basically the new police structure will be right here that was burned down. They're under construction. Their training facility would be in here. This is what the truck port could look like, but again, that was way over budget, but that's kind of where it would live. And this is what our salt storage building would look like. So the trucks could come in off of Ramsey, drive across, back in, unload the salt, and then they would drive out onto Kathleen. We feel that this building, if approved, they would probably need about 30 to 60 days to get all the parts ordered. We anticipate that we could have it constructed with the new salt equipment into it by mid to end of September to have us ready in time for the upcoming winter season. I'd just like to remind, I can't move out of the one building until we build this building. The salt can't sit outside. It's going to take, once they get all the permits and the approval and they show up, it only takes 2 weeks if we have the site prep for them to build this building. We will have to build a room inside of it to house the new brine equipment that you approved the last council meeting.
Could I ask a question on the
Yes.
previous slide?
Okay.
Could you back up?
Yeah.
Just north of the, I guess that must be the PD, the lot that's just north, who owns that?
So currently, this grass area here, is that
Yeah.
where you're speaking? So they just built their locker rooms kind of in
Oh,
this area.
oh,
And so we have a sliver roughly there. And then I believe someone else owns the rest of the lot. So, yeah, we've already got a piece of it that PD is utilizing, but not that whole lot.
okay, okay. Too good to be true, okay. Should have bought it when we could have, okay.
Christie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Todd, you came before us 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and you were excited to tell us about a master plan. You started to tell me,
Right.
and I said, oh, okay, I can wait, because you were working with the police department and fire on basically a facilities master plan, which I appreciate that very much. Your salt building that you want to construct,
Mhm.
that's not currently in the financial plan, correct?
It is not. So, a year and a half ago, when we talked about doing it's almost 2 years ago, when we started talking about the remodel to the Streets and Engineering Department, I had some of council members come out, and what we wanted to do was, once we moved into the new remodeled building, the 3820 building or the modular building would be vacant, and we wanted to sell it and use the dollars from that sale to build the covered truck covering. Since then, the truck covering came in about $100,000 more than we had first anticipated. I had been talking with Chief White about their needs for their training facility, and so I thought, well, if we could use that 125 to build the salt building, then we could allow the police department to move into our former salt storage and upfit it to whatever they need, which would create that little pocket over there on that east side, kind of the southeast side of our lot. Because we're always we work well together, but obviously PD activities and street activities don't always match. And so they are always wanting more space to do their training. So that's why we started working on this. So, again, we're trying to make this picture doesn't do it justice in this plan. This is quite a bit of space in front. When I took Captain Hagar, Chief White out there, I think they were surprised at actually how much space it is. So that's kind of my pressure right now, is to get this side of the lot. In a couple more slides, I'll talk about fire and some of the struggles there with expanding that end. But yeah, that's the point of this plan, is to benefit all three of us. So.
In your current salt building, have you had that looked at by an engineer?
We have all the blueprints. We have not. I've done a lot of work on pole buildings. It seems like there is a way that you could add on to it. From what I understand, Captain Hagar is asking for it to be a little bigger than that, so the current structure isn't quite the size they're wanting. I'll let Chief address that. Normally, you can add on to those structures. We do have an engineer coming out this Friday to look. I know that Adam Cricko invited me to that meeting, so this Friday we have a structural engineer coming out to see what that looks like and if we can. So I would have more information hopefully by the next council meeting. I would think we could come back to you with that. But currently I have not. Basically what the idea was with that current building was you have a pole barn, you're going to build a structure inside of a structure. So you're going to make it weather tight, you're going to put up the walls, and however the police department wants to set it up for their training, I'm not quite sure. But now it's gotten a little bit bigger, so that's why there needs to be an addition or a complete restart. So.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see here. I went through that one. Okay, so as we move more over to fire, this is one of the pipelines you can see that goes through Jenny Stokes Field. So it's a big beast. It takes up a lot of room. It's very unfortunate because that is a very valuable piece of real estate. But it's there. I have reached out to both pipelines. We have Williams in red and Yellowstone is in the green. So here's Jenny Stokes Field. Here's the current fire station. We do have a road right here. Currently, this little bump out that is a bathroom on the end of the station, that is physically as close as we can get to this gas line. So they have an easement that comes right here, and they can't build anything within, I believe it's 25 feet of the gas line. I did ask the question to the products gas company, so that's a big piece of grass. What if the city of Coeur d'Alene wants to do something there? Could we move the gas line just in case? I knew what kind of response I would get. So to do up to 1,000 feet, which this would be a little less than that, would be about $2.5 million to relocate the gas line. Because they charge you for loss of service and all that. So that's not really an option. These shaded areas that are up against the two pipelines, those are their easements. So where you see true green color, that's usable space. Not a lot left. So I did talk to them. What I'm trying to work with them, because this is a pressure point for fire. Again, we're going to get rid of this swale here. That will give them a wide area out here. They've constantly got all their engines that pull in there. Ladder 1 pulls in there, or they could do some training props. We're going to move this swale out here somewhere to try and create some room. They did say that they might allow us to put props if we ever were to want to go out there. I understand there's conditions and we can't just move on to that grass. It has to be a soccer field. We would have to find somewhere else for the soccer. I don't understand all that, but there could be potential for a parking lot. We could bridge this and maybe make a parking area out here that would assist fire with some of their training. They always are short on parking. So that is an option. We might be able to do movable props. So if it's a Connex box, or, they have, like here, there's a structure that's framed that they do some of their roof exercises on that. That's something that could possibly relocate. So I think there's options out here if all of our ducks were in a row as far as finding somewhere for soccer, if we can do that. But we've really ran out of room on this north side. It's more temporary stuff that could go up here, not permanent. I do feel if you were to ever relocate any of this, or we could make it work, there is room here to add the extra bay. If we could go somewhere from here roughly to this edge of grass here, with the geobond, with the new station that's proposed, that they could make room for a third bay. So we're gathering up feet at a time up on the north end. It's not like we're getting huge space, but when it all adds up, I think it will turn into something. But this is kind of the downside to Jenny Stokes Field. It's it's not really usable space. So that leaves us with everything here. We have some swales and stuff here that is part of the drainage for the whole campus, so we can't move into that area. So really for the PD, this is our best option. And then we try and grab up some space up in this area up here to give fire some more space. We are still working with Chief Greif, and we will still be having some meetings about that and see what we can do. But so tonight, I come to you asking to go under contract with Steel Structures of America. Their price was $113,310. We would give them the green light to start this. Hopefully we could be moved out, and if we approve something for PD, then we would be out by September-ish, hopefully no later end of September. We did ask for the whole dollar amount, $125, from the sale of the building that we sold to the county, because we have to do some asphalt repairs. We're gonna have to buy some concrete blocks for the inside of the steel structure for the salt, so there's added expense. That's why we are hoping for the whole $125.
Thank you, Todd.
At this time, I'd take any questions.
Questions for Todd? Christie?
Thank you. I guess on your time estimate, we're into May, almost Memorial Day. You think you can't leave that current facility until September?
As soon as the structure is up, as soon as that structure is up, I can leave it. In the world of construction, there's always delays. I'm not comfortable moving out of that structure until I know there's something the salt can fit in, because if we can't cover the salt, we won't make a brine product this year. So we would have to go to just sanding, and the level of expectation from our community, I'm not willing to gamble on just sand. We've really fine-tuned our salt brine, and I want to be able to provide
I'm totally
that.
on board with salt. I'm just curious about the time frame of why all summer long it couldn't be constructed.
Well, it's currently full of salt, and so we carry it over to the next year, the old one. I'm hoping to go under contract with Steel Structures of America, and if I can get their permits through and it starts sooner, we will move out sooner. But until the new structure is up, I can't empty the salt that's
Sure.
sitting in the building. I have nowhere to put it. So.
Yeah, I get that. I guess I'm not really understanding the length of time it would take them to put up just a pole barn.
So worst case, it's gonna take them 60 days to get permits, approval, and show up on site. And, I'm hoping I can work with our building department. And then from there, it's gonna take them 2 to 4 weeks to build the building. So I'm giving you worst case. I'm hoping that, we will do it much quicker, but
Okay.
I'm at contractor's mercy. So.
All right, thank you.
Any questions? I have one for you. So going back to the gas lines, you can put a parking lot on them, and you can put a road on them, is that correct?
We can't put the parking lot on it, but we can put it just to the north, and we can, like we did out there, we can bridge the line and make it to where you can drive over it. It does, as you can see in this slide, the Williams line crosses Kathleen Avenue, so it can be. The problem is, there's a section of this, it's not very deep, and so they either want it concrete capped, or like we did with the road we put out to Kathleen, we bridged it up 4 feet to give them that space. So there is things we could do to drive over it. We would have to coordinate and work with them on that. We can't just show up and do it.
Gotcha. And there is a parking lot on the green side there.
Well,
right?
this is what I would propose for something, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. No other questions, I'll look for a motion, please.
So, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 25026, approving budgeting authority for the amount of $125,000 for the purchase of a pole building to be located at the 3800 Ramsey Road campus.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Other questions, discussions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
English.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
Evans.
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Gookin.
Yep.
Thank you. Moving on.
Mr. Mayor, this would be the new item that we added to the agenda, which is the Police Department training
Right.
facility.
Sorry, I spaced. All right. Chief, thank you for being here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I think Todd did a fantastic job explaining kind of the master plan and what Todd and Tom and I have been talking about over the past few months. Just a bit of background for the police department. We've been looking for a place to train, frankly, since as long as I've been here. And I think probably be longer than that. But we don't have a place where we can do adequate force-on-force training at all. What we've done historically is if a building is going vacant for some period of time, we try to schedule it so on one of our overlap days so our folks can go out there and perform some training, but that is extremely hit and miss. It ends up being, I think last year we were able to do it 1 day per year, or all last year, to do any sort of force-on-force training. So we've been looking for a training facility for some time. As Todd said, the site that that they're proposing was the current salt storage building would work out perfectly for us. The current salt storage building, though, the way it's designed, presents some problems for us, and there's a couple big ones. Number one, it's designed in a way that there's a bunch of, just envision a bunch of concrete pillars. They're about 4 feet tall or so, with then metal attached to the top of that to make the roof and everything to cover the salt. Now, those pillars are not evenly spaced around the front of it, and then the back of it, they would be right where, say, the rear wall would be and the side walls would be. In other words, the companies that we've contracted with to have them come out and take a look at this say that in order to use this as a facility where you can, move around inside it and use it for any sort of force-on-force training type of thing, they would have to either build the walls inside of those pillars or outside the pillars, because to try to go through them with the way the design of it is just incredibly problematic. And then the people that we had come out there also took a look at the trusses, and the way that the trusses were coming together, they were coming together not over an area where there was a pillar, so they would have to redesign the entire roof. The only person that we found that would even give us a bid for building onto the existing structure, one person told us it was going to be upwards of $220,000, and then the one bid we got was forgive me, I think it was $171,621. Everybody said it would be cheaper and more effective to just wipe it clean and start over again. Now, we understand that that's probably, that can be problematic, because I know Todd could use the structure to park other vehicles underneath in a different place. And so when we were having our master plan discussion last week, he requested that if we choose to do that, that he would like to have the ability to pull basically the lid off of that current structure and move it someplace else so we can use it at a later date. And we are totally comfortable with that, whatever's needed there. So we had a number of, like I said, groups come out and take a look at this. It was very difficult to have folks come out that would even give us a bid based on adding on to the existing structure, but we did get a couple bids of building a brand new structure out there starting from scratch once the current place is removed. Those bids came in, the lowest one was $114,317. That does not include heat, which we would need to train in the wintertime, and a little bit of site prep. So in total, the total dollar amount would be just under $135,000. We have adequate vacancy savings to cover that this fiscal year. Even the worst case scenario, I understand we're coming into the busier summer months where it's hard to predict the amount of overtime that's going to be required to get us through special events and things like that. And there's a couple of other moving parts, though, that occur from now until the end of the fiscal year. But even worst case scenario, we should be about $290,000 under budget. So we have adequate vacancy savings to cover this. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor, Chief, do you have a staff report for us?
I have written one, yes, sir.
For all, each of
here
us?
if you'd like it, yes, sir.
Okay, if you could, please.
I'm sorry, there's one last point that I forgot to address. Todd did talk about the impound lot. I think I probably need to explain what that is. There's a chain link area that currently sits to the south of the current SALT structure where the training facility is proposed to go. We have to keep an area where we can keep vehicles that are impounded for evidence. I think currently there's 3 vehicles in there that are wrapped awaiting adjudication at trial and things like that. So in total, we need to be able to have at least 8 vehicles. And honestly, sometimes when our vehicles get taken apart and ultimately sold at auction, we use that area as a storage place before they go to auction. So there's a couple of different options, as Todd alluded to, for us to save space and the design of that just by putting locks on chain link gates and making I guess you would just call it bays instead of a large area the way it currently exists. So we're able to save some space that way.
Do you have more questions?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was mentioned, the city administrator mentioned money for the takedown. Is that in this bid as well?
The money from the takedown, I think, is what Todd was referring to for his structure, the sale of the triple wide to the fairgrounds. I think that's why he's requesting the 124.
No, I'm referring to, I'm sorry.
Am I referring to something else?
I'm referring to the existing SALT building.
Oh.
Is there money in here to take that building down to your satisfaction?
There is not. Todd said he would prefer to use that. There would be an extra, well, if the other company were to do it, it'd be an extra $29,000 for them to do it. Todd said he would like to do it so he could save the roof and use it at a later date rather than have the other places come in and demolish it.
And is there money in here for further demolition of those posts you were talking about?
There is not. Todd said his folks can take care of that as well when they remove the roof.
So is that part of the motion then? Todd, do you want to address that?
So we would like to take it down ourselves. There would be some disposal. I hadn't calculated for that as far as getting rid of the existing pillars. We get a pretty good rate to take it to Central Premix across the street. So I mean, I would probably just take it down, load it in our trucks. But the structure, the piece of the structure would save us enough money to where I think it's worth it. We could relocate it somewhere on the campus. We'd probably take it apart, and it would probably sit till next summer if we had to do that, because with all the asphalt work and things, we'll have time to take it apart, but we won't have time to reconstruct it. We'd probably do it in-house.
And what's the impact to your budget on that?
As far as taking it apart?
Yes.
Again, I guess I hadn't really thought that far ahead on it. You know, I would say we would probably dispose of the concrete this year would probably be about $10,000 if I had to guess in any materials that we'd need and to dispose of it. And I have savings that I think would absorb that comfortably, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Christie.
Thank you. Chief, I was contacted by leadership in the Police Association, I guess it would have been last week, about this item, because I thought it was coming forward. Todd had given a presentation 2 weeks ago. I thought everyone was working together and it was a big master plan and it was coming forward. Their concern was obviously training. They're really concerned, and I know you do the best you can with what you have to keep them trained. We all have different backgrounds up here. Everyone knows my background, and I know that the biggest liability to the public, to our officers, and frankly to our taxpayers are police officers that are not adequately trained. And so our role is to keep them safe, and I think we're all committed to that. We want to keep them safe. Their concern was, what happened? Why did this fall apart? Why is this not coming forward? And so that's why Councilman Gookin and I second the motion, we wanted to hear tonight, what's the holdup? Troy said that he wants someone else to come out and look at the structure. Maybe, Troy, you can go into that a little more. I was trying to keep track with what you were saying, but this seems like it's ready to go. And so what is the issue exactly?
Multiple issues, in my opinion. First of all, We are bringing an engineer out to take a look at the building to confirm that it cannot be added onto, to save the work of tearing it down and meeting the needs of the police department. We've worked hand in hand in this program, so the plan is exactly what you're seeing. We don't have the answers to that question, but we have an engineer coming out this week. Again, we got together last week on site to do this so that you could have it for tonight. We do not want to spend any of our dollars that we don't have to, and we'd like to reuse the building if it has to come down. So that's question number one on why I didn't believe this was ready to come to you. If it has to come down, we would take our own personnel in the busiest time of year when we need to put down asphalt and get 4th Street done and all the other good work that needs to be done. So it wouldn't be convenient at this moment. And then Todd eloquently described why we don't want to lose that building until we have a new building to put salt in, so we have brine for next year. So I wanted to come prepared so that we could answer those questions and give you an exact detail of what an add-on could cost or would cost, or if it has to come down, what a timeline would be for the existing salt storage building to come down in an appropriate manner for us to have the new building up to store salt and give the police department what it is they're looking for. There's really no disagreement, maybe other than timing, and we can't tell you what the cost would be. We are not getting a good number of quotes coming in for these pole buildings. And so that's a little disappointing, other than the fact that it's really good for these companies, because we're not getting a lot of people to come out, and they have not been very timely in giving us quotes for these new structures. Thus, the reason we can't be comfortable that they're going to be able to deploy those teams to get it done as quick as we need to have it done.
Financially, it's not a concern because we can use the salary savings, correct?
I still have a concern with a $16 million general obligation bond that's out there, and what happens if it did not successfully overcome 66 2/3 votes.
Well, I hope that goes well, but we just approved a building for streets department that was not in the financial plan, so it's kind of the same thing.
Other than that's new money that was coming to the city from the sale of the triple wide. That's why we brought it to you, is that it's a new source of revenue. And if things don't go as we hope they go tonight on the bond, we probably will not look to sign that contract just to save the money.
Which contract?
The one that the one that Todd just had approved. We'd be looking to see if we can come up with a different plan to buy some trucks or do something else, lease some fire trucks.
Oh, I see, but the building for the street department's moving forward. We just approved that, so no matter what. So timing, you said that seems to be the difference of opinion on timing. In your vision, what's the time frame?
The time frame to build or remodel?
Yes.
The time frame would be as soon as we can be comfortable that the new salt storage building you just approved is up and ready, we could be working to confirm that either the one existing salt building needs to come down, that's question one I don't have an answer to, or if it can be added onto. So theoretically, as soon as the new building was built, we would be setting it up for the add-on or the tear-down of the existing salt storage building.
Okay, well, and that answers my question. There's no reason not to move forward with a motion because it's all going to come together. It's just a matter of the moving parts coming together. We all seem to be on the same page that we want to make this happen.
1,000% agreed. We would not be here without that plan. The timing of it is critical, and for budgetary, we would like to tighten up those numbers. Because if we can add on to it, it could be less than what you've just heard. If we need to take it down, then we need to coordinate the taking it down and the disposal fees and the new structure going back up.
One more question, Mr. Mayor. Would we be able to see this, if everything goes right, would we be able to see Todd's out of the building no later than September? New construction could begin in September.
Yes.
Thank you.
Cool.
Kenny,
Mr. Mayor,
Excuse me, I have to spread it around.
Chief White, you're a pretty smart guy. I want you to look at your crystal ball real quick. And the only concern I have, I am 100% in. I will do everything I can to make sure this happens. My only concern is if this goes to September, what's that do to your bid?
Well, as I'm sure you're hearing, the price of everything continues to increase, especially imported steel. I don't know. The bottom line is, I'm sure it's going to go up. I just don't know by how much.
Right. And I didn't expect that you would. My concern is if we approve something, if we approve a number for you tonight, you get to do the wonderful thing and come back in front of us again. And I would just as soon not have him do that, just for his sake. He probably won't care, but, I mean, we're all in and getting this done for you. It's just a matter of, is it prudent to do it tonight versus wait till we have everything that we need to do it? That's my only question.
Mr. Mayor.
Dan English.
Okay, well, just as I look ahead in the agenda, the last thing we're going to do is we're not going to adjourn. We're actually going to recess to May 27th for a workshop to talk about priorities and different things. I wonder if this could be, by tomorrow, well, by hopefully midnight tonight, we'll know if we pass this thing, and I think we're going to. But I mean, in a week, we'd have a lot more stuff. Couldn't we add that into that discussion?
We can.
Rather than wait 2 weeks for another council. I mean, this is a good midpoint. Just a thought.
Well, it's designed as a workshop.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, we could work it.
Work it. You bring your tools. Mr. Gookin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, the city administrator raised some issues. Did you have an engineer look at it?
We had the folks at Geno who were building the PDIT building directly next door, have them take a look at it. The architect who was looking at it said that he looked at it and said, I don't know about this, and then he wanted some more time to think about it, and then said, I'm not even interested in looking at it. The other people for Steel Structures of America, I don't know if they're engineers who looked at it, but it was their building people that came out and looked at it and said that they did not think it was financially a good idea to build onto it. It would be more expensive to do that than it would be to tear it down.
So then the two issues that were raised were about the engineer to look at it and whether it would be practical to add on to the bill. You've already decided those two items in your staff report and in the bid. Basically, you're going to tear it down. You're going to already reuse part of the building. That's what the streets department wants to do. And then tear down what's left of it to give yourself an empty pad to build what you want to build.
Yes, and as Todd just said, the plan was to kind of overlap the two projects. So as Todd's is just finishing up, he would be in the process of pulling down the existing salt structure, or at least getting ready to do it and that sort of thing. So I guess what I'm saying is you wouldn't have to wait for, or we wouldn't have to wait for his building to be 100% complete and 100% moved in before any part of ours would start. I mean, obviously, as Todd said, there's a permitting process that takes some period of time. The bids we have are 90-day bids, and so we have some time there. And so the overlap part of it would just let this happen a bit sooner than it would if we waited all the way until, say, October to come back in front of you and ask about this once again.
And Councilman Gabriel raised a very good question about the cost going up. So how are we going to deal with that?
Well, if we had a not to exceed $135,000, as I said before, I think we would be comfortable.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor? Thank you. So 90 days is the bid time?
Yes, sir.
Is that when it's good?
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
Call me Kenny. You don't have to call me sir. It's okay. But so that is something that's very important too, because so if this does get done sooner, if we sign that sooner or later, then they are locked into that number, correct?
Yes, sir.
And we have a pretty good idea that construction will start before 90 days?
Well, it would all go down to Todd's building being done, and I don't think that would be done in 90 days. That's not going to happen.
So typically, with this type of work, we would kind of, if you will, a notice to proceed. So once we go under contract, we get our permits, and we break ground and we're going, in that same period, if it was approved, you're going to lock in a contract with whoever who did you,
CDA structure.
CDA Structures, at that point, they lock in the price. They don't have the material sitting there, so they're gonna order everything, they'll get it coming, and then you give them a date that they would start. So I think there's a bit of overlap. While you're doing one, you could also be locking in the contract so the prices aren't going up. They're gonna get all the materials on hand so that when you give them the green light to go, they could start. So, because that's what we're wanting to do once we're comfortable that we are going to sign the contract, we want to lock it in so we get on their calendar. Once we get a date that they're going to start, I'd be, talking with Chief White and letting him know, hey, this is here. Probably should start looking at locking in your contract as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor?
Go.
Thank you. I actually had a question for Todd. When you get your permits, do they cover the police building at the same time, or would they have to come back later and get all different permits?
I wish it was that simple that it could be all in one, but it would be two separate permits, two different structures, so, yeah. And it's gonna be two different contractors. We tried to use the same contractor, we couldn't even get them to come out and look at it. Steel Structures America is the only one that actually responded to our request. We've asked two other companies to come. They said, well, we'll put you on a schedule. We never saw them. Chief White had the same problem. It's just Coeur d'Alene Structures actually came to him. Steel Structures, Troy alluded to it. It's hard to get these people out there to even bid the work.
So this could be delayed for quite some time.
We talked to them today, and they said that, once we give them the green light, they would, once the contract's signed, they said it would take up to 60 days to get them there. They were hopeful for a 2 to 4 week build, most likely 2 weeks. It's just a big square. We do work with the permitting. We have a part of it, so I'm not expecting that to take the 60 days. It will still take some time, so I think we will speed that part of it up. So I'm not worried. I think that it's all very doable. We've asked a lot of questions. They say that they can do the work this year, so I'm very comfortable that at the latest would be September. I would hope it would be sooner than that we could move out. But
Amy.
Thank you. Thank you both for all your work on this, and I love the partnership between our different departments. So, my question is, we're still waiting for a bit of information. I appreciate the staff report. Thank you. Trying to digest it all tonight on the spot is a lot, but I appreciate the information that you're sharing at the podium. If Troy can gather the information that he's wanting to feel comfortable, is 2 weeks reasonable, the next council meeting reasonable for a decision point for us, for you?
The mere fact that there's might be a light at the end of our training tunnel is a huge relief to me. So 2 weeks does not scare me.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Coogan.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to take a stab at a motion, see what council thinks. I understand the concerns here and that this is a lot of information to digest at the last minute, but I do appreciate your expediency and your due diligence with providing us with the information. But I will take a stab at a motion anyway, and I know, Joanne, that this isn't written down for you, so I will go slowly. And I'm going to call this Resolution 25-027. So I would make a motion to approve Resolution number 25-027, which would approve budget authority in an amount not to exceed $135,000 for the construction of a 60 by 40 foot pole barn building for the police department from CDA Structures, is that correct? In the amount, well, the amount's already been stated, and for the street department to take down the existing structure using their savings, pending the passage of the bond this evening.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment as legal counsel for the city? The process for amending an agenda after a meeting has started, and I've mentioned this to Councilmember Gookin. is a two-stage process. One, they have to explain why it wasn't included in the agenda in the first place, which Mr. Gookin's motion did discuss that. But the statute specifically says that final action may not be taken on a matter that's amended or added to the agenda after the start of a meeting unless there's an emergency necessitating action at this meeting. So the question then becomes, given all of this discussion, does a decision have to be made at this meeting? If so, that needs to be part of the motion, that there's an emergency and that it is necessary to make a decision tonight.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's why we have an attorney here. So I will rescind the motion and simply make a motion, a substitute motion, to set this item on the next meeting's agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and second, discussion. Is that good, Randy?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that good, Chief? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Kiki?
does that give staff enough time to gather all the information you needed to complete the work you were already in the middle of?
It's a good goal. It's a good goal. I'm counting on an engineer to make that appointment this week so we can get those results so that we can confirm that it needs to come down.
Okay. And then my other question was, are we able to discuss this? We have a workshop coming up that Councilmember English mentioned, and we're going to hear from a lot of other departments. Are we going to be able to discuss this topic at that workshop as well?
That is your workshop. The staff is not bringing anything forward formally. It's priorities coming from council and mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Good. So we have a motion, we have a second.
To bring it back to the next council meeting.
Gotcha. So roll call, Joe?
Wood,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Evans,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Mayor, can I clarify that'll be an action item?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do what?
It's an action item in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Sure. Oh, that's all right. We still got something else. Okay.
We ready?
We're moving on, right?
Yes, please.
We're good?
Go.
John, you ready to go?
I am. I was just
Public-
checking if there was anybody who signed up to speak.
Okay. So there's a quasi-judicial ZC 325, a zone change requested Melrose Properties LLC from R12 to C17L on 3 parcels measuring 0.95 acres located at 417, 421, 503 West Emma. Sean, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council, tonight before you do have a zone change request. As the mayor alluded to, it's ZC 325. It is 4.95 of an acre and is commonly known as 417 through 503 West Emma Avenue. It does encompass 3 total properties. The applicant is here tonight, Melrose Properties LLC. They do business as Parkwood Business Properties. Chris Meyer is here to speak to this item after I wrap up my staff report, which I hope to do quickly. So the decision point tonight is that should City Council approve or deny the requested zone change from R12 to C17L for property owned by the applicant. All right, so the subject property, as you can see here, US 95, Government Way, Emmett Avenue cuts east and west across this. This is Ironwood Shopping Center here to the north, and the 3 subject properties are located inside of the boundary shown on your screen. So Planning Commission, they did meet on April 8th of 2025 to consider this request. They voted unanimously in a 5-0 vote that they recommend to City Council to change the zone. So here's some background information. Let me catch up a bit here. Staff report. All right, so Parkwood had made strategic acquisitions of 3 houses to the east of the daycare facility to prepare for expansion. In 2019, they worked with the Idaho Transportation Department to install a signal at US 95 in Emma to ease the congestion for the medical corridor and provide pedestrian access across Lincoln Way. So there are 4 findings that are required for a zone change. They're listed here on the screen. I'll go through each one of those now. And finding B1 is that is this proposal, is it or is it not in conformance with the comprehensive plan? So this is the overall city and what those future land use categories are, and it is located in the urban neighborhood. This is what that consists of inside of the comprehensive plan, the key characteristics. I want you to take a look here at the bottom here under the compatible zoning areas, and for these types of areas, these future land use map, that C17L is considered as compatible. Zooming into that map, you can see here what those categories are and how they relate to one another. And so this is currently the urban neighborhood, and this kind of purplish area is the retail center corridor, and that does run kind of bookends along US 95 to the south of that subject property, with compact neighborhood directly south of the subject property. This is the description of what that urban neighborhood area is that was also shown on the slide before, highlighting C17L, so I'll move on from that. What place types are, they represent the form of future development as was envisioned by the residents of Coeur d'Alene at the time of the comprehensive plan in 2022. So the transportation network, and this is a separate part of the plan, but it is important here, the existing and planned bicycle network, it's a corridor, it's US 95, there's not a whole lot of improvements on the north-south side of things, but there are some east-west along Ironwood, and then the existing and planned walking network. There has been some sidewalk that was provided with the existing daycare. It does end at a terminus at the edge of their property. I do have a picture of that to show you in a moment. And then City Link and where the subject property lies in relationship to Route A. So last but not least is the plan goals and objectives. So I always like to mention that Coeur d'Alene citizens are well informed. We appreciate the people that show up to speak to these matters, and appreciate them taking the time to do that for our city. Goal C2 is maintain a high quality of life for residents and businesses that make Coeur d'Alene a great place to live and to visit. Under growth and development, goal GD2 is to ensure appropriate high quality infrastructure to accommodate community needs and future growth. And under jobs and economy, goal 1 is to retain, grow, and attract businesses. So finding B2 is that the public facilities and utilities are or are not available and adequate for the proposed use. So we reached out to our city staff and departments and police, streets and engineering, water, fire, and the wastewater departments all commented on this. Each department has indicated that there is adequate facilities available. That is on pages 12 and 13 of your staff report. I'd like to note that the police department did say they had not necessarily a large concern, but wanted engineering to take a look at the approaches, the future approaches, and try to align them with the homes that exist to the south to try and prevent any traffic snafus with people backing out of driveways and also trying to access the future site. So the physical characteristics of the site are listed here. They're based on approximations because the legal descriptions do not have exact sizes. It just refers to the area. So they're approximately 194 feet along Emma and approximately 250 feet deep to the north as they abut the Ironwood Shopping Center. Most of the homes there are modest. They're wood frame construction and set back approximately 20 feet from the street. So pictures speak 1,000 words, so we'll go through some pictures here. This is Emma and US 95 looking north. This is the parking lot that currently serves the daycare. Then turning about 45 degrees and looking towards the daycare, this used to be a religious facility that has been converted into a daycare. And then looking down Emma Street, you can see it's flanked on either side by sidewalks to a certain point. You can see the dead end just after those trees. And then there's the North Idaho Eye Care Facility on the south side of Emma. This is that sidewalk. I think Chris at the last hearing said the sidewalk to nowhere, which would be improved if this comes to fruition. And then the homes themselves that are under consideration for the zone changes, they are the 3 homes right here. And then last time I had these in numerical order, but I decided to change it so that they are how you would see them if you just stood across the street and looked at them. So these are those 3 homes. So traffic, this is a comment that was from our city engineer. It does have an additional amount of trips per day that are expected. A normal home would generate approximately 10 trips per dwelling unit for a total of approximately 30 trips per day for those existing homes if they were all occupied, and that the daycare center would generate an average of approximately 26 3/4 trips per day per daycare center employee. So there is a clear significant increase in the trips that would be generated. However, Emma has the available capacity to accommodate the additional traffic. So the neighborhood character here is, it's a fairly eclectic area. It's been changing over time. There's a future slide that I can show zone changes that have happened over time. There's a mix of residential, civic, commercial, retail. Well, I listed off some of these: Ironwood Square, Kootenai Health, North Idaho Eye Institute, and a strip mall across the street to the west. The housing stock on Emma varies in size and conditions, and the older homes there are well maintained in approximately the mid-20th century in development. There's also mature trees that are along that Emma right-of-way. Okay, so the existing zoning map, let me make sure. Oh, we're at finding B4. So the proposal would or would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and or existing land uses. So this existing zoning map, you can see here that C17L, which is the request for the properties shown here under R12, is adjacent to the west. To the north is C17, directly south. We have R12 as well as some C17, and that bookends either side of Emma out to Government Way. So this is a description of what C17L zoning district is. I highlighted the most pertinent portion, which is letter C, is that this district is suitable as a transition between residential and commercially zoned areas and should be located on designated collector streets or better for ease of access and to act as a residential buffer. This is the principal uses that are allowed in C17L. I highlighted the one that is the request here, why they're seeking a zone change as a child care facility. This is a much smaller list than C17 directly and includes largely and almost exclusively service type uses. Okay, this is the land use map, the existing uses. To the north is that commercial zone. We have single-family homes. Like I said, they're bookended by either civic or commercial uses along the corridors that go north-south up towards the freeway,
Sean,
down to downtown.
I have a question for
Sure.
you in regards to that map. Civic, that's a church,
Yes, that does fall under,
but it's a childcare?
but it's childcare, and yes, childcare is also a civic use.
Does both churches and childcare? Is that it? Okay. I was hoping it would not be a church anymore and come back on the tax rolls.
Well, I'll leave that one up to the county assessor, whether or not it's taxable or not. I'm sure the applicant can speak to that. So as I mentioned earlier, the prior zone changes in the vicinity here, you can see this map is exclusively green, which denotes that City Council has approved those zone change requests over time, starting from 1982 up to 2011 is what this map does show. And each one of those was approved, and the type of request and what that zone change was allowed the underlying zoning to change to. So with that, I'll wrap up my staff report, and City Council has some action alternatives before them, and they must consider this request for a zone change and make appropriate findings to either approve the C-17L zoning or deny the C-17L zoning. And I'll stand for questions.
Questions or, you good?
I'll wait till after.
Right. Any questions for Sean?
Not now.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, the applicant, would you like
Bring
to
up the applicant.
come
Yes,
up
Chris
and
Myers.
say a few words? Welcome, Chris.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for the time to be here tonight and explain our proposal. I'm Chris Meyer with Parkwood Business Properties, here representing Melrose Properties LLC, our applicant tonight. First of all, thank you, Sean, for presenting such a thorough staff report. I really appreciate it. It pretty much laid out our ideas here. As a point of clarification for the mayor, that is a property tax paying parcel because it's owned for us as a private entity. The tenant is the hospital, even though it is a civic use. We do pay property taxes on that element.
All right,
and so
thank you.
we would continue to pay property taxes on the residences adjacent. So happy to pay our fair share. We're here trying to future-proof the daycare. I've been working on this project for almost 10 years now, ever since we first acquired the church, who vacated it willingly, moved out to a bigger facility for their congregation out on Kathleen. It's been a lovely success for them. We saw the opportunity to partner with Kootenai Health, looking at trying to expand and enhance their daycare operations. Obviously, Kootenai is the single largest employer in the county, and they have found that this daycare provision for their employees is a big employee satisfier. So allowing them to attract and retain the high-quality healthcare professionals they need, this has been a real integral part of that process. There's a waiting list for enrollment at the daycare of about 150 kids right now. So we're, like most organizations in the community, behind the curve on trying to provide affordable healthcare options. So we acquired the two houses on the east side in fair market value transactions as those residences turned over. I've been sitting with a lovely couple, Bud and Darlene Sheldon, on their living room couch for about 9 years now, just working with them on the opportunity that the daycare was an adjacent neighbor, and when they were finished with their house, we'd sure love to talk to them. They've reached the point in their life that they're ready to make a lifestyle transition, and so in January, we were able to acquire their house. So having completed that assemblage, we decided to come for the rezone now, kind of to pave the way. We're still in conversations with Kootenai about what an expansion might look like, when it needs to happen. They're balancing a lot of different complicated capital needs now, trying to figure out how to operate a daycare at a minimum loss, because it really is a loss leader, to be honest. They're doing it as a balance to their employee satisfaction. So we're not sure exactly when the time frame is, but to have the rezone done gives us the flexibility to begin to make those plans, to explore massing, explore the access considerations that were proposed in the write-up, make sure we come with a building permit plan that would meet all the needs of the different constituents. We're a little bit intrigued by some of the planning that the Idaho Transportation Department has been doing. You all have heard from them about the plans to revise US 95 and the I-90 interchange. Involves expanding a number of the approaches, the challenge of their engineering over Appleway. That plan includes, according to the open house they had in March, an expansion of Ironwood Drive that comes all the way down to that signal at Emma. So they'd be widening Ironwood to accommodate the additional traffic flows. Some of those plans involve the condemnation or potential negotiation over a right-of-way take of some of the westernmost parking in front of our daycare facility. So if that's going to happen, I'm kind of working on my backdoor contingency plan to be sure we can continue to adequately park that facility in addition to the parking we provide for the eye care clinic to the south. So there's a lot of moving pieces on the chessboard now. It's one of the reasons why we thought it was appropriate to secure the land use entitlements to be able to plan with some confidence to expand this much-needed facility in the community. So I can answer any questions that would...
Questions? Kenny?
For Randy to disclose, Mr. Meyer and I had a conversation about this months ago, but it wasn't just this, it was just a sit down right when I got appointed, so it was coffee and everything that's going on. So we didn't speak specific about this, but it did come up in conversation. Is that fine?
Who paid for the coffee?
Yeah. Well, I did, of course, but.
Okay, all right.
I let him feel good about it, so.
And thank you for that, too.
Any other questions?
I do,
go
if
ahead.
I may.
Sure.
I know that I have been concerned about applicants in the past, and I'm not going to speak for my fellow councilors, but they've been concerned as well about the C-17 and what could go. But this is a very specific project that you don't plan on selling off one day and putting another store in there or something, which I know it isn't allowed, but this is very specific, and you did a good job narrowing to C-17L.
It's a fair question, Councilman Gabriel. Thank you. As a developer, we're looking for all the different options. At the moment, I have a commitment with the adjacent property, so I'm trying to expand that current use that makes the most sense. We specifically tried to do the lightest land use that would permit this allowable use, and it seems to be the logical one going forward. We hope to own this property for a long time. There's a signal on that corner. The medical community is rapidly growing and changing. So I have to say, I can't say never, but at some point, that would be a consideration. At the present time, we are intending to pursue the expansion of the daycare facility along with the existing operations.
Perfect. You guys have been a great partner forever and great neighbors, and I see this is just another positive thing that you do. Thank you.
Thanks.
Kiki?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple questions, might bounce off to Sean. Is this inside the Health Corridor Urban Renewal District?
Yes, it is.
Is inside. And the other is, in one of the photos, it looks as though there's a middle turn lane that comes out towards that end. I can't see where it ends. Is that on the obligation of the development to, as this expands onto Emma, to do any changes within turn lane issues in front of the property that you're developing?
Speaking as a applicant and a developer with some experience working with the Streets and Engineering Department, I think it kind of depends on what the traffic loading would be there. At the moment, we did add the turn lane at the time we partnered with the hospital and the Transportation Department to install the traffic signal there, in addition to, I think, some city funds. So thank you, we all partnered together. And we brought the turn lane back as far as it was needed for the traffic demands and the queuing space of the signal at that time. So it kind of depends on how dense the improvements would go in, is my speculation. I'd have to defer to Streets and Engineering.
Okay, we'll see what they have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Kukin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Chris. So this is going to be a total of 4 properties for you in a row that are all going to serve the same function. And one of the concerns that I have always, and Councilman Gabriel alluded to this, is we're zoning 3 properties to be C-17L. Is it your intention in the future to combine all these into a single parcel?
It's hard to say at this point, Councilman Gookin. It depends on what happens with where the parking goes and where the expansion goes. This is a building that could have 2 different opportunities to it. Either we would fill in the L shape of the current daycare facility, taking up the parking in front, and take the parking off the street frontage and putting it in the back. Or alternatively, we could expand the building to the east, leaving the parking in the front. So some of those may vary depending on how or why we would need to consolidate the parcels. So to be honest, I don't have a clear plan at this point until we understand better what the site plan intentions would be.
If we told you that that was a condition of the zone change, would you be okay with that?
In which direction? To requiring?
To combine all the parcels eventually?
I'm thinking on my feet here, so
I understand.
I believe that wouldn't be a problem. If I do build on that site, I can't build a building across existing property lines. So if I left it as parking, I think I can leave them separate. I've done that in other parts of our medical corridor to the west. In this case, I'd have to, in order to secure a building permit with property line setbacks, I would need to combine the parcels. So, no, I don't think that would be a challenge.
Okay. See, my concern is that, like Councilman Gabriel said, if we have 4 parcels that are C-17 and something would happen, and they need to be sold off, then there would be a greater impact to the neighborhood if there were 4 businesses there as opposed to just 1. And by combining the parcels, we would always guarantee that there was just 1 building there, or 1 business there, which would be a lower impact to the neighborhood. And this is not about your project specifically, because I look at the zoning and not the project. So to me, that would lessen the impact to the neighbors if it was always just going to be 1 C-17 thing, as opposed to potentially 4. If you see where I'm coming from.
I could actually, as a developer, see that both directions. If I leave them as separate properties and it doesn't turn out to work out for a daycare expansion, they get sold off as residential lots. They're very small to create a viable commercial development on. If I can consolidate them, a higher traffic and perhaps potentially larger impact project might emerge to have different externalities on the neighborhood. So I could see that either way, but I understand the will of the council if that felt like it was
Okay. And that's a great point. I appreciate you brought that up too, because that's also, it's good. You think on your feet, even whether you know it or not, you do it.
Anyone else? I need to read this. I should have done this in the beginning. Thanks, Chris. I think we're good. When council sits in quasi-judicial capacity, its decision can only be based on information presented at the hearing. Therefore, I would ask any council members that have received any or exchanged information related to this zone change request that is not included in the council package. Please disclose the information now so that the applicant and the public have full knowledge of information you possess. Does anybody have some magic information? No? Okay. So public input.
Be opening the public
Oh,
hearing.
nobody signed up. So I'm going to close public comment and look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll take a stab at this. This matter having come before the City Council on May 20th, 2025.
Excuse me, we have to do the motion that's in the packet first,
Before the findings?
before the finding.
Okay.
Findings are related to the ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve without prejudice a zone change request by Melrose Properties LLC from R12 to C17L on 3 parcels measuring 0.957 acres located at 421 and 503 West Emma Avenue, based on the following findings and conclusions.
And then you can go through the worksheet.
Now?
Yes.
This matter having come before the City Council on May 20th, 2025, to consider ZC325, a request for a zone change from R12 to a C17L on 3 parcels, measuring a total of 0.957 acres. The applicant is Melrose Properties, LLC, and the location is north of West Emma Avenue between US 95 and North A Street, commonly known as 417, 421, and 503 West Emma Avenue. The City Council finds that the following facts, A1 through A15, have been established on a more probable than not basis as shown on the record before it and on the testimony presented at the public hearing. The City Council has identified the following comprehensive plan goals and objectives as being applicable to this matter. Goal C11, Coeur d'Alene citizens are well-informed, responsive, and involved in community discussions. Goal C12, maintain a high quality of life for residents and businesses that make Coeur d'Alene a great place to live. And goal GD2, ensure appropriate high-quality infrastructure to accommodate community needs and future growth. Based on the foregoing findings of fact, the City Council makes the following conclusions of law. The proposal is in conformance with the comprehensive plan policies. B2, public facilities and utilities are available and adequate for the proposed use. B3, the physical characteristics of the site make it suitable for the request. B4, the proposal would not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood character with regard to traffic, neighborhood character, and/or existing land uses. The City Council, pursuant to the foregoing findings of fact and conclusions of law, has determined that the requested zone change does comply with the required evaluation criteria and approves the C-17L zoning.
So we.
Oh, motion to approve. Oh, no, sorry,
Yeah,
that's
go
it.
ahead.
That's it.
I have a motion to approve. I need a second.
Second.
Any second. Discussion, Mr. Gookin.
Thank you. So, I actually think this does impact the neighborhood. In the current proposal, it does not impact it negatively because it's just expanding an existing use. We did get a letter in our packet from Ms. Cooney, who opposed it. The site already has an increase in traffic through the neighborhood. Newly built commercial properties have impacted the parking of the area for residents. And so my concern originally was, that there's 3 lots here that would be C-17. Mr. Meyer brought up an excellent point, which is that, if it falls through, you still have 3 lots if we don't agree to combine them. But that doesn't prevent someone else in the future from buying 3 lots C-17 and combining them and creating another C-17 issue. Yet, if in the old comp plan, this would have been noted as an area of transition. I mean, obviously it is. It's just the way the dominoes are falling. And as much as I hate to say that, and I know someone who lives on that street, it's a C-17L is not as offensive as the property that's right across their fence and behind, then one thing over. And I know I'll probably have someone say, "Oh my God, you called Albertsons offensive." That'll happen at a future council meeting. But still, those are my concerns, but yet in this area, it seems like, yeah, that's just what's going to happen. That used to be my eye doctor there too, and so you drive down that street and that's the impact. But I don't think you're ever going to sell it. I think you're going to do what you say you do with it. So, and little kids don't drive cars, so we're good.
I thought you were taking a shot at the Eye Institute across the street.
Christie.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a good project. We always look at what is the impact to a neighborhood, but realistically, a child care facility are daytime hours, and it's very low. I wish we could do that for our city employees. So I so admire Kootenai Health doing it for their employees. I think this is a good project, and I'm comfortable supporting it.
Okay, hearing nothing. I'll do roll call. Joe, please.
Wood,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Evans,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yep.
English,
Yes.
Okay, Council Bill 251011, ordinance approving the zone change requested by Melrose Properties LLC from R12 to C17 on 3 parcels measuring .95 acres located at 417, 421, and 503 West Emma Avenue. Need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to dispense with the rule and read Council Bill number 25-1011 once by title only.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Miller,
Aye.
Evans,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yeah.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Clerk, read the title, please.
Council Bill number 25-1011, an ordinance amending the zoning act of the city of Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai County, Idaho, known as ordinance number 1691, ordinances of the city of Coeur d'Alene by changing the zoning of certain property from R12 to C17L, said property being described as 3 parcels measuring a total of .957 acres, commonly known as 417, 421, and 503 West Emma Avenue, repealing our ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, providing for the publication of a summary of this ordinance and effective date hereof.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt Council Bill 25-1011.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Miller,
Aye.
Evans,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yep.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Thank you, Joe.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion to recess to May 27, 2025, at 12 noon here in the library community room located at 702 East Front Avenue for a council workshop to discuss priorities, visions for the city.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
We're recessed.
Here.